What's up, you guys? It's Graham here, and let's just get some of the bad news out of the way first. As of now, the typical American saves just 3.8% of their income. First-time homebuyers have fallen to a historic low as they're priced out of the market. Nearly half of all Gen Z is forced to work multiple jobs, and if that wasn't bad enough, credit card and household debt has just hit an all-time high. Fortunately though, it doesn't have to be this way, and there is a solution for those who want to escape the hamster wheel and quickly build wealth, even if you're starting out with nothing. And better yet, it's not the generic cookie-cutter advice of work hard, save at least 10% of your income, drive a used car, and no matter what, hit the like button if you haven't done that already. Even though chances are that's still probably a lot better than what most people are doing. Anyway, in terms of getting ahead of 99.9% of people starting today and actually making a sizable financial difference starting from what you already have, these are my best recommendations that have worked really well for me that anyone could follow regardless of your background, income, or education. All for the price, by the way, of subscribing if you haven't done that already. So thanks so much, and also a big thank you to Helium Mobile for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, now before we go into the step-by-step details, I just want to say this. Be careful who you listen to. I just noticed there's a lot of people out there who are totally broke, but they love to give their opinion on what you should be doing at any chance they could get. These are the people who tell you that you should live it up when you're young, that credit scores don't matter, that you should go to college to get a job to be successful, or that starting a business is too risky and a lot of people fail, so chances are it's not worth trying. Now don't get the wrong idea, because usually the people that say these things typically believe it themselves, and a lot of the times they have great intentions. Unless of course they have deep-seated insecurities and don't want anyone else to do better than them, but the fact still remains. If you want to build substantial wealth, you have to go against the grain. You have to be a contrarian. You have to do what most people are not willing to do. And that also means only listening to the people who are where you want to be. In fact, I heard a saying out there that is incredibly true. Don't take advice from someone who you wouldn't want to trade places with. And that is insanely important in determining who to filter out. This is going to help narrow your focus down only to the people who are doing what you want to do. And chances are that is the advice that you should follow. Second, since the goal here is to build wealth, we need to talk about actually making money. And one of the easiest things you could do to help you with that is to have a good credit score. The fact is, like it or not, your credit score rules all things personal finance. Like, it could dictate whether or not you get approved for a mortgage, could rent an apartment, get a competitive interest rate, get approved for a small business loan, or even pass a job application. This is why you could either choose to ignore it and pretend it doesn't matter, or use it as a real-life cheat code to immediately start making a lot more money. And if you want a guide on exactly how you could do this, here's my step-by-step recommendation. First, if you have no credit history whatsoever, go and apply for something free like a Discover It secured card. All you need to do is get in the habit of putting a few small charges on the card every single month and then pay it off in full by the time it's due. That's it. Now second, right after doing that, go and sign up for a free credit monitoring website, including Credit Karma, MyFICO.com, or Experian.com. This one's going to help you monitor your credit history, and over time you could watch your score go up. Again, for free. Now third, after 6 months of doing this, go and apply for another free credit card, like the Bank of America Cash Rewards card, the Wells Fargo Active Cash card, or the Chase Freedom card. This is because the more on-time payments you have, the faster your score is going to go up. So now that you have 2 credit cards, you're going to put, again, small expenses on the card, pay it off in full by the time it's due, and repeat. Fourth, after 12 months of doing this, go and apply for your first charge card like the American Express Gold. Now this one does have an annual fee, but it comes with so many rewards that could easily pay for itself. And because this doesn't technically have a limit, it's going to help push your score up even higher. And finally, fifth, after about 18 to 24 months of doing this, you should have a credit score anywhere between 720 to 780, which will get you the lowest interest rates anytime you go and apply for a loan or leverage your money. Building your credit like this shouldn't take you any more than just a few minutes of work a month. And this is the ultimate cheat code to eventually making a lot more money, all for just watching a 15-minute YouTube video. Now third, even though building your credit could certainly help you grow wealth, it's not enough on its own to actually make money. That's why if you want to set yourself up for the financial fast track of a lifetime, it's extremely important to get as much work experience as possible. From everything that I've seen, it is always worth it to take a calculated risk, try new careers, be as busy as possible, and then just see what sticks. The reality is, every job you try is going to give you a new skill set that you could then leverage leverage into the next position. And the more you try, the faster you're going to realize what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're bad at. And as a result of that, I promise, you're going to make a lot more money. Now, in terms of what you could specifically do, because I know everybody likes a step-by-step guide, this is what's worked really well for me. First, decide what you think your dream career is. Whatever it is, just pick that. Then second, start working towards it immediately. If this requires a special license, a certification, some sort of job training, then work towards it. If it's something that people do on their own, like a lot of entrepreneurs, find someone who's doing what you want to do and see if you could work for them. Work for free if you have to, just to gain the experience that's going to pay off later down the line. Then third, after you've been trying it, if you realize that you don't like it, it's not for you, it's not what you expected, no worries at all, just start over again and repeat the process until you find something you really enjoy. Honestly, you shouldn't even be thinking about making money at this point, because I promise, the experiences that you get are gonna pay you 10 times more in the future, especially if you end up following these next few steps. Although before we go into that, I gotta say, sometimes when it comes to investing, building wealth, and optimizing personal finances, the small details end up making a big difference long term. Like, just take a look at your cell phone bill. When it comes to this, the average person is spending $144 a month, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, with just a few minutes of research, you could quickly find other options that give you the exact same coverage for a fraction of the price, or in the case of our sponsor Helium Mobile, $0 a month, as in it's going to cost you absolutely nothing. They're able to do this by giving you a free plan that offers 3 gigabytes of data, 100 minutes of voice, and 300 texts with no credit card required. I like this because it's able to give me a no-cost second line that I could add on to my existing phone through an eSIM, and then anytime I'm in a location without good cell phone service, I could switch on over to it as a backup. Or if you find yourself needing more coverage than the free plan offers, they have other options, including an unlimited plan for just $30 a month, all with no contracts. You could even enjoy nationwide 5G coverage, which is the exact same that other companies offer. And as a bonus for sharing your anonymized location data, which helps them put community coverage where it's needed the most, you'll get rewarded with cloud points, which could be redeemed as a gift card or through trying new restaurants, shopping, streaming shows, and travel. So if you want to try it out, again, even if just as a backup for additional cell phone coverage for free, you could sign up with the link down below in the description and by entering the code GRAHAM. Again, there's no downside to having another option, or even just eliminate your entire cell phone bill altogether. The link is down below. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video. All right, now, in terms of getting ahead, if you want to make a lot of money, as in more than $500,000 a year, you're probably going to have to pick a business that's scalable. Like, let's be real. If you want to focus on massive wealth, chances are you're not going to get there through a traditional job, unless, of course, that job pays you an exorbitant amount of money, or you get really good at call options and OnlyFans. And that's why, instead, you're going to have to pick a career that's not dependent on how many hours you work. If you choose to ignore the rest of the video and just focus on one thing, let it be this, because it's really important. Anytime you work a job that pays you a set amount, you're going to plateau rather quickly, because you'll soon find that there's so many hours in a day that you could work, and once you reach that point, you're pretty much capped out and done. However, by working any job that pays you based on results, assuming you get results, your income is going to skyrocket, because all of a sudden, the hours worked don't make a difference. For me, I did this through working as a real estate agent. It didn't matter if I worked 200 hours or 2 hours. If I didn't sell the house, I wasn't getting paid. So it was really up to me to utilize my time effectively and create a schedule that could maximize the amount of money I could make and the results that I could get. Personally, when it comes to this, I tend to think that sales is one of the most underrated careers out there. It's usually a stepping stone to a much higher income. The skills you will learn could be transferred to just about anything else, and that could provide the income needed for some of the other things we'll soon talk about. Now, of course, if you're not into sales or you want something that's a bit more stable, totally understandable, but do just consider that those who switch companies end up receiving on average 30% more money than those that don't. So see if there might be a better fit for you to work somewhere else and then leverage those skills to eventually make a lot more money. Best of all, pretty much everything you'd want to know is already on YouTube right now for free, and learning how to be self-sufficient enough to find those answers is going to help you tremendously long term. Although, in terms of what you could do with all of that extra money that's soon about to come in, that brings me to the next step, creating multiple sources of income. Believe it or not, this step is so important that the IRS actually published their research on high-income tax returns to study the distribution of economic well-being, or in other words, why some people are richer than others. And what they found is that the more income sources a person has, had, the more money they usually made. Now, if you're curious which income streams are the most common, the largest usually comes from a typical job. This is where almost everyone starts off, and it's the equivalent of working a 9-to-5 job, running your own business, or working on commission. From there, this funds everything else that we're about to talk about, like number 2, dividend income. This one is pretty much the easiest second source of income that anybody would be able to do by buying into a stock, a REIT, an index fund, an ETF, or anything else that pays you a distribution on a regular basis. Third, we also have another one that's very closely related, and that would be capital gains. This one is often claimed as the way that rich people avoid taxes, but in all reality, the simplest reason is that capital gains are taxed at a lower rate than ordinary income. So instead of paying 37%, maybe you pay as low as 0 to 20%, saving you a lot of money on taxes. Fourth, once you start earning a lot of money, you could also branch into rental income. Now, even though this one is significantly harder today than it was when I first got started, there is still some opportunity in buying properties, fixing them up, and then renting them out. Yes, it is a lot of work, but with a steady income, good credit score, knowledge of the specific area, and the willingness to put in a lot of time up front, it can be profitable. And then finally, sixth, the last income source usually comes from a second job or a side hustle. I tend to believe that this is one of the most underutilized ways of making more money out there that people just don't take advantage of, especially when the average person is spending 2.5 hours a day on social media. Just imagine what you could do with that time if you actually applied it towards something productive. I just think working any type of side business that could be completely detached from your main source of income is not only a good thing to do, but it also diversifies you just in case something happens with your primary job and you need something to fall back on. Beyond that though, no matter how much money you make, if you actually want to build substantial wealth, you have to avoid what's called lifestyle inflation. This is what happens when you're making $40,000 a year, saving a little money on the side, no complaints, but then you get a raise to $60,000 a year. And all of a sudden, you get a slightly nicer car. Maybe you go out to eat a little bit more often. Nothing major, just small differences to reward yourself. But then a year or two later, you get a raise to $150,000 a year. And all of a sudden, your current apartment isn't cutting it, so you get a house. And all of a sudden, your car isn't just as nice as a G-Wagon. So you go and buy a G-Wagon because that's what other people making six figures are driving. You get where I'm going with this. I've seen so many situations where people are saving the same amount of money, making $200,000 a year, as the person who is making $50,000 a year, even though the other person's making 4 times more, and this is incredibly common. In fact, over half of people making $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck, and a third of people making $200,000 a year can't save any money. So without going through their expenses line by line, my guess is that lifestyle inflation's to blame. Personally, I found that the only way to overcome this is that if you make more money, keep your expenses the exact same and invest the difference immediately. So that way, if you're making $40,000 and you get a raise to $60,000, nothing changes, except now you have an extra $20,000 to invest. This is not the time to spend the difference or reward yourself for working hard. This is the time to get your money invested so that way your money works for you and not the other way around. Or I guess you could just do what I do. Work so much that you don't have any time to spend the money. Okay, in all seriousness, here's how I think about it. If there's something I want to buy, I think to myself, how much do I have to have invested to be able to pay for the thing? So, for example, if I want to spend $100 a week eating out, I know that I have to have $130,000 invested to be able to pay for it. That way, whatever I buy is sustainable and I'm never going to run out of money. I promise that by doing this, you're going to build a very strong financial foundation as early as possible. And that also brings me to my last point. Studies show that it's usually best to invest immediately. I know this is all super basic stuff on YouTube these days, but this concept of compound interest really changed my entire life as a teenager. Like, just consider this. $1 invested at 20 years old at a 7% return is going to be worth $21 at the age of 65. However, if you wait and invest that very same dollar at the age of 30 instead of 20, it's only going to be worth $10.68 during that same time frame. Like in this example, every $5 Starbucks that you splurge on could be worth $105 in future money. Those $100 shoes you wear twice, that could be worth $2,100. So why waste it? Now, in terms of a basic step-by-step guide of what to do, I would be starting off right now with a Roth IRA. This is a retirement account that you could invest up to $7,000 a year into, and then all of your profit is completely tax-free after the age of 59 and a half. For anybody who's young and just starting out, this is especially good for a few reasons. Number one, you're probably not earning a lot of money these days, so you're already in a low tax bracket and you'll have more money left over to invest. Two, you're young, so you have a lot of time for compound interest to do its thing. And three, practically every brokerage these days offers a Roth IRA, and it'll take you just a few minutes to sign up. Like, just to show you how great this is, if you sign up for one of these at 18 years old and you contribute $7,000 a year at an average of an 8% return, by the time you're 65 years old, you're gonna have almost $4 million available to you completely tax-free. That is your entire retirement just from this one thing done from a Roth IRA. And from that amount, you would be able to spend over $150,000 every single year for the rest of your life. Enjoy. And lastly, if you want to dramatically speed up the process of getting ahead, here's a few quick life hacks. Number one, be obsessive. The truth is, if you don't love what you do, you're going to get burned out, you're going to let things slide, and someone else who is into that thing is going to run laps around you. So if you could start with passion, you're going to have a huge competitive advantage. Second, play to your strength. I truly believe that all of us are naturally gifted with one thing that you have an unfair advantage over. So if you could find it, lean into that. Third, act on opportunity. From what I've noticed, everything massive really just comes down to a few good decisions at the right place and the right time. So if something comes up and you see a fair opportunity, go and take it. Fourth, this one for some reason is really overlooked. Show up early. I'm shocked at how simple this is, but so few people show up on time that when you do show up on time, it's a rarity. Fifth, here's a big one. Don't complain. This one accomplishes nothing, it's wasted energy, and instead you should always reframe everything as a positive. Like, if a client shows up late, well, that's a good opportunity to practice patience. If a deal gets canceled, well, that's an opportunity to prevent that from happening in the future. And when you could shift your entire perspective, you'll just constantly get better. And finally, six, you have to stay consistent. Just like you can't expect to go to the gym for a week and get jacked, you can't expect to make these sort of changes and see any sort of difference in the next few weeks or months. Most likely, it's going to take years. And years of which you have to remain dedicated. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot more nuance than I could possibly put in a video like this without making it 3 hours long, but I promise, if you just stick with this long term, you're going to see a massive difference in terms of your accomplishments, how much money you make, and whether or not you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment down below because I will do my best to read and respond to as many of you as I can. Really appreciate it. Helps me out a ton. Thank you so much, and until next time.